they don't send you to a real doctor. Here in Austin, there are several major healthcare outfits, other than Blue Cross and United Health, which are big insurance companies. There's the St. David's Medical Care System, and then there's Austin Regional Clinics, which are the two biggest ones where you go if you have a hernia or you just go for your annual physical. But poor people can't do that if they don't get insurance. So where they go is they go to what are known as MIC doctors or doc in the boxes, which are it's something that'll have something like Shiny Way Healthcare, where you go in, and these are filled with doctors who are, in a graduating class of 400 doctors, they're the bottom 30 doctors. They're the people who don't get the MDs. They're just DOs, and they barely make it. So I went there 3 times in January before the company told me that they weren't going to pay for it. When I went the 3rd time, and because when they drop your drawers and they stick the finger in your sack and they tell you to turn your head and cough, and they get, you can feel there's a golf ball sized lump in my right groin. I got there the 3rd time, and this was just a day or 2 before I found out that they were not going to pay for it. The young lady who's a doctor, she was actually quite intelligent, more so than many of them I've dealt with over the years, because all companies use these doc in the boxes for workplace injuries. She says to me, "So, Mr. Schneider, did you get your MRI?" I said, "MRI? What are you talking about?" She said, "Oh, well, we ordered an MRI after your first visit that you be sent to get an MRI so that there's proof that you have an injury." I said, "I had no idea about that." So I called up the company, because my employer uses a third-party company to basically do their dirty work. And I called this up, and I spoke to the nurse was managing my quote-unquote case. And I said, "What's this about me being supposed to get an MRI?" She said, "Oh, well, we hadn't determined whether you needed one." I said, "The doc in the box, the bottom of the barrel doctors on the first trip deemed it necessary or at least advisable to get this, and you're denying that." So you have the employers, just like with when I was a whistleblower, you have employers sending you to the worst doctors, and even the rare times these worst doctors do something good, they will not listen to them. And so you have people who are not in the medical profession, who are just in the profession for money, determining whether you can get health care. Now, you might say, well, it's a hernia, it's not life and death, but it can become life and death. There's such a thing known as a strangulated hernia. And Mike, if the colon leaks out too far and the muscle wall that it's leaking through, somehow you twist one way or the other, you can die from the reabsorption of the feces that goes in, and assorted other things, blood flow, and you can't. I mean, it's rare. It's maybe 1 in 1,000 people who get a hernia get to that point. But these are people who are so soulless that they are willing to just. I mean, it doesn't matter to them. All they care about is making their bonuses, making their goals, getting paid. And I'm sure my guess is that these companies that are the third party people hired by companies like my employer probably get paid by the percentage of cases that they deny. I'm 90% sure of that. But what we really need is, people talk about government, and they were talking about the death panels and whatnot. I'd much rather go before an impartial government panel of national experts that could be set up. That if I am injured, or whether it's going back to the similar thing with whistleblowers, you go to them, and they should be able to determine he needs this health care. He got injured because of your negligence. End of story. You can't have companies, corporations especially, police themselves. It will always be bad. It will always be dependent upon money, and it will always mean that the people most in need will be the ones that suffer the most.